The art of public speaking. How many chapters did we study? Let's have a quick look together, and then we're going to focus more on chapter 6. The art of public speaking, and then we started with the first chapter. The first chapter was, speaking in public. We were talking about the traditional public speaking. You remember that? We talked about the history. It goes back to when in China and in other countries. The next one was public speaking and intercultural communicative competence. That's what happens when we have students from different countries and different languages. The third one, public speaking and critical thinking. If you remember, we were talking about how important it is that when we are listening to a speech, we think critically. We should not accept everything easily. We should try to find the importance, the significant message that the speaker is trying to convey. Next one, public speaking and conversation, the similarities and differences. And the last one, the speech communication process and the 7 elements. What were they? Speaker, listener, message, channel, feedback, interference, and situation. If you remember, we talked about FOR, frames of reference. We said that the speaker and listener, the speaker and the audience, they have different frames of reference. That's why there might be some misunderstanding. Next is speaking confidently and ethically. How to become a confident speaker. We talked about nervousness. We said that nervousness is normal. Nervousness is normal. It's for everybody. It's common. And then we talked about the different ways to deal with it. Right? Visualization. You remember? Picture in the mind, the mental image of seeing ourselves successfully presenting. The next one is how to be an ethical speaker. To use something which is valid, which is authentic and reliable. Right? And then we talked about plagiarism. If we are citing or giving some information that someone else has said, how to use it, right? Giving your first speech, about how to prepare your presentation, right? About organizing the ideas, about the transition, how to move from one idea to another. And then we talked about CDC. What is CDC? Content, delivery, and connection. And how about delivery, how it should be, how about the voice, how about the eye contact, how about the connection to make it engaging for the audience. The next one is selecting a topic and a purpose. It took about 3 sessions to talk about it. Do you remember that? To narrow down the topic from a broad general idea, we need to make it focused. Then we were talking about analyzing the audience, about physical setting, about the size, if you remember, about demographic traits, education, age, gender, social status, economic status, and cultural background of the audience. We said that we need to take into consideration these aspects in order to get a better connection with the audience, right? Level of knowledge. Do they have knowledge about the topic? So their attitude toward the speaker can affect how much they can be engaged in their speech. The next one was adaptation. 3 processes of adaptation. Adaptation of like how you can adapt yourself to the audience before, during, and after the speech. And today we're going to talk about supporting your ideas. I cannot stand here and just give a speech. Whatever I'm saying, it should be supported. It should be backed up with some facts, with some truth, with some examples, with some statistics and testimony. The power of examples, sharpening examples, numbers that persuade. When we are using statistics, it is numeric data. When we are using numbers and figures, when I'm talking about the harmful effects of smoking, I have to bring some numeric data, some information, numbers to show that how many people have been detrimentally affected by smoking. So this is it. And testimony, voice of authority. When I use some information and say Confucius said that, according to Plato, according to Albert Einstein, I am using voices of authority, and then people cannot deny what I'm saying. The next one is here, like for example, have a look. Why do we use examples? Why should we support? For clarification. Listeners need to understand us clearly. For credibility. They need to believe relevance. They might say, okay, so what? Connecting your ideas to their interests makes your speech more engaging and impactful. Good. So here we are. And the next one is the power of example. Read it. Power of examples. How many kinds of examples do we have? And what is the definition of impact? Examples evoke emotions more effectively than just data alone. So that's why we need to add examples. They personalize your message, making it easier for the listeners to follow you, to connect and remember. So here we are. How many kinds? Brief examples. They are just quick allusions that provide a rapid illustration. What is extended example? Extended examples are narrated stories, as we just discussed. And hypothetical example, they invite listeners to imagine scenarios. For example, asking them to picture their father awaiting a heart transplant. This can make a powerful emotional appeal, and then they get engaged. They listen carefully when we bring example, this one, hypothetical. This transform vague claims into measurable facts. This is a good point. And here is about the types of testimony. It enhances credibility. People believe you better. People trust you. Professional insights, court arguments, and here, peer testimony. Personal experience. Do you remember we were talking about a violinist, a person who plays violin, but he has lost his legs, paralyzed. So he was explaining about how people treat him as if his crippled legs shows that he has crippled mind. He said that people look at me because I am on wheelchair as a thing, not as a human being. But we use his experience in our speech. Why? It is a kind of peer testimony because he is giving us a first-hand experience and people engage better. It's powerful and it has emotional perspective. Very good. So this is it. Quotations, paraphrase. Quote, short, clear, and powerful. Paraphrase is longer and even for more complicated issues. Okay. So when you are trying to give information from any sources, it is important that we find who is the author, authorship. Who is the sponsorship, and the most important factor of recency, how recent and fresh and new the information is. As I said, if we talk about the population of China 10 years ago, and you find here and you say it is 1 billion, that's right. It was for many years ago. Now it is 1.4 billion. So recency is important. That's it. And thank you. That's enough for today.